Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Scott Edinburgh. I'm the founder of Personal MBA Coach. I'm here today to talk to you about Wharton and things that you can do to increase your chances of getting in. So I hope the last session was extremely helpful, and we'll give you a little bit more information today. So briefly about myself, for those of you who haven't met me before, I went to MIT for undergrad, Wharton for my MBA, and I worked in consulting in Deloitte in between those two. I'm joined by MJ Shores, who's actually former Wharton admissions director, and then we have some other former directors on the team as well. I'll briefly run through this to save most of the time for some insight for you. So top ranks consultants on many different leading MBA websites. Our clients get in with a 96% success rate. And last year we had over $6.5 million in scholarships. We send a lot of people to Wharton every year, which is one major reason why folks want to sign up with us, as well as other M7 and top 10 schools. So ready to apply to Wharton. What are some things that you should be thinking about, right? So we say Wharton in a minute. This is a quick video. So this is a very high-level view of Wharton. So students are heavily involved in clubs. This is important, right? In many schools, students are involved in the campus and the activities and things like that. But school spirit is quite important at Wharton. I was president of, I think, 2 or 3 different clubs there. It's also a very supportive community. Sometimes I hear that Wharton is, quote, competitive and financy. That's not actually true. So very supportive community, and also most people come from out of town. One of the things I loved about Wharton was it's in Philadelphia, which is a great city. It feels like New York. It's a grid-like city with tons to do. But the nice thing about it is a lot of people are not from Philly that are actually going to Wharton. So you really have this sense of community while having a big city atmosphere. The cohort culture is really strong. So a lot of different competitions across cohorts, which breeds a lot of tight, close-knit communities. Many of my cohort mates came to weddings and things like that. It's also a pretty family-friendly environment. So for those of you who might have kids, the Partners Club and Families Club are thriving. And then one thing that I actually enjoyed quite a bit was the student-faculty involvement. So at some schools, faculty teaches and students go to class. But Wharton has a lot of involvement. If you wanted to, have some impact on creating classes or suggesting changes to the curriculum, you can certainly do so. Faculty members will come to weekly, drinks and happy hours and things like that. A lot of small group dinners. So I actually benefited from that quite a bit. And it is not just a finance school. So we hear often, I can't tell you how many calls a week I'm on with clients around the world who say, I'll go to XYZ. I won't go to Wharton because it's focused on finance. I didn't take any finance classes when I was at Wharton. So if you want a way out of things, you absolutely can. And that's one of the beauties of Wharton. So a little bit about the curriculum. Okay, so what is actually different about the curriculum? I won't go through and talk about all the courses. You can hear that from the admissions directors themselves. But analytics, right? So analytics is important. You want to think about numbers, data. There are many different majors at Wharton, and so this is also something to note. You can study a lot of different things. One of my favorite classes was an advertising class, actually, where I had to watch commercials. So that was kind of fun, right? We have a mix of case and lecture, and so that's good because it's not all case study, it's not all lecture, and so some courses I personally believe are nice if they're taught in a lecture format, and so you really have this mixture at Wharton. A lot of experiential learning opportunities as well, and these continue to grow. You can have internships during the year, externships, do small FAP projects with different companies, and the broader Penn integration for some people might be really beneficial. So some of my friends started companies with folks at the med school, and you're taking classes with the law school. I took a couple legal classes. I studied real estate at Wharton, and actually picked it partly because I took a couple summers of economics classes there when I was in high school. So really loved the experience, and founded the company when I was a student there after I helped one of my best friends get into another top HSW school. But there's a lot of integration across UPenn. So if you want to take classes in different schools, you can certainly do that. So what gets you into Wharton, right? Some people say, so I don't know if I'm competitive. How can I actually do this? Analytical experience is important. I know I've said, the word analytics before. It's not a fluffy school, so you have to be comfortable with numbers and comfortable with data. Does not mean you have to be an investment banker to get into Wharton, but you do have to have some comfort with analytics. This can be demonstrated by, let's say, a high quant score on the GMAT. So if you're working in a very non-traditional background and you're not doing things that are super analytical, and you have like a 45 on the quants and a 3.5 GPA, there might be some hesitation on the part of the admissions committee. I know our Wharton admissions director, when we're evaluating applicants, always says, well, where are they relative to that like 75% sort of quant threshold on the GMAT? And sometimes that does, make a difference here. Of course, strong work experience is important, as it is with many top schools. But the cultural fit, I think, is really key. So for those of you who don't know what the airport test is, it's a test that's conducted in an interview to say, is this somebody I would want to be stuck in an airport with for 3 hours? I used to do a lot of consulting interviews when I was at Deloitte, and if I'm interviewing somebody that I just don't really feel comfortable with, hanging out at the airport for 3 hours next to them in the chair, maybe I don't hire them, right? So cultural fit is important. How are you going to integrate yourself into the fabric of the community? This is evidenced by their interview process. They don't have a standard one-on-one interview. So if you're applying to Wharton, you would have a group interview. We have a former Wharton group interviewer that conducts all these. And as I talk to him regularly, the key is to see how you integrate with others, how you motivate other people in a conversation, right? And how you support them. So your role in that interview is not what's most important for yourself. It's really about how you make other people succeed. And this is just sort of part of the community at large. So cultural fit is really important. And they judge that also based on their second essay question in most years. I know this year the question has not been finalized just yet, but usually the second essay focuses something about the community. How can you improve the community? What are some things specifically you're going to be doing to make the community a bit better? So you have to show detail, and you really have to prove that you're passionate about the school. And so that falls into the next bullet, a pattern of campus involvement, right? If you write an essay that says, I want to be the XYZ president of this organization, and it sounds great, but you've never really done that in the past, that could be a challenge. So for those of you that are planning ahead, we actually have a whole early MBA planning package where we can help you to perfect your profile between now and when you apply, and that's conducted one-on-one with our former Wharton admissions director. So start to think about some extracurricular leadership that you might get yourself involved in. Not being just a finance jock. So I write this meaning you want to be nice, you want to be friendly, you want to be collaborative. So if anyone is a little bit rough around the edges or maybe too full of themselves or overly confident, right, that can actually work against you. Okay, so what am I not putting in writing, but I might talk about? So I loved a lot of the more, sort of social aspects of Wharton. There are many, many great parties, a lot of events, even through COVID, although now that we're coming out of that. I thought that a lot of the trips that people did were really fun. And a lot of schools have trips, but Wharton has some amazing excursions. You can go to Antarctica, which is really fun. I took a real estate development class. I took a real estate law class. Real estate's a very big focus for Wharton. Their marketing classes are also quite strong, and they're analytical as well. So, I think it really teaches you some things that might be tough to get at some other programs. So here's an essay deep dive, right? Goals essay. So why MBA, why goals? How do you do this? First of all, the goals should be very specific and ownable, meaning you don't want to go in there wishy-washy and say, oh, well, I might do X or I might do Y. And I'm going to let the school help me to figure out what the best step is for me. You want to be very specific about what you want to do and why. So short-term and long-term. Now, short-term is more important than long-term because long-term is typically 7 years out to 10 years out. Who knows what you're actually going to do? But we need to be very clear about here's where I am, here's what I want to do, and this is how Wharton will help me to get there. This is a brief sort of tip of advice. I don't usually give as much in videos like this, but often we see essays from people that don't get in, and we do ding reports where they're just not detailed enough as far as the goals or about how the school will help you to get there. So this is not the time to list 20 classes, nor is it the time to be very wishy-washy and say why you want to develop strong business fundamentals. So essay one, right? What do you hope to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? 500 words. So yes, career context. Where are you? What have you done? If you don't do this, you're really not answering the question, because in order to tell them what you want to gain, you have to tell them where you are in your career at this point. Now, the Wharton detail means you need to talk to students. If you haven't talked to students, you haven't done your homework. So talk to some students, learn a lot of recent specifics about new classes that they have, opportunities, experiential learning, and really integrate this into your essay so that you can be clear what you're going to gain from the school. And gaining professionally doesn't mean you have to gain everything from one class or two classes. There can be things high level that you're getting from a lot of different classes. So these are some mistakes to avoid, right? Goals, back to goals again. Having an illogical career goal. your goals should make sense. There are 4 different ways that you can pivot in a career: industry, function, geography, and language. If you're pivoting in all 4 of those ways, let's explain this, right? Let's not have a path that feels unnatural. It's going to leave an admissions director wondering, I wonder if they'll be happy at my school. I wonder if we can actually get them. Next, asking your company CEO to write your recommendation letter. Now, if you work closely with your CEO, by all means, let's have them write the letter. But you don't need to worry about prestige. You don't need to worry about rank or what MBA program they've graduated from, or really anything like that. Ask people that really know you well and can write a lot of specifics about you. The level of detail is important and the quality is important. And next, not including the school specifics, right? So we talked about this. Don't include compliments. The only reason I added the slide in here is because you don't really want to compliment a school. 2 things happens. 1, they know that they're really good at this. And so who cares that you also know that they're good at this? Or maybe you're saying they're good at something that they're not actually that great at, and then it feels a little bit not so genuine. And then lack of consistency across the application, right? Think about this like a puzzle. So this is like a toddler puzzle, right? This is a 6-piece puzzle rather, and there are many different pieces of the application. They should all tell one message, because an admissions director will read your application, will spend a certain number of minutes. I have the numbers in my office for some of these schools where they'll review the application and then take some notes, and then maybe go to the water cooler or Zoom cooler or whatever we're doing these days, and talk to others about you. So you want to make it really easy for them to say, this is why I want to take Scott. If you are interested a little bit in what we do and how we can help you, we have some of the best GMAT, jury, and executive assessment tutors in the industry. We have our whole in-house software that we use to guide through the process with module sample questions. Our clients last year raised their scores an average of 90 points on the GMAT. We do brainstorming and story development to help you to select the schools based on your personality and fit, career prospect, chances of getting in. We have former interviewers from most of the top schools. But if you have any other questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out, scott@personalmbacoach.com or www.personalmbacoach.com. So the last sort of 2 pieces of advice I'll leave you with are: 1, don't worry too much about engagement with the community. Now, I said that you should talk to students, which is important so you could have knowledge for your essays, but Wharton is not a school that tracks the number of phone calls you have with somebody and says, ooh, Scott only had 3 phone calls and Mary talked to 12 people, so Mary is more likely to get accepted. It doesn't actually work like that. So don't worry too much about that, but it is still good to research so that you have the knowledge to demonstrate your interest once you're in an interview or as you're writing an essay. And then 2, don't try to write what you think Wharton wants to hear. It's not the case that you need to write about finance or analytics or entrepreneurship, really any of the things that I've talked about today, right? You want to have the reason why you want to go to the school and why the school is right for you. And so if you have something very, very niche and you're one of maybe 10 people in the class that's going to do that particular thing, that could work out really well, right? Because schools need well-rounded classes. And so they need these non-traditional applicants. They need people that are going to take all of their majors. If you don't have students taking a major, what happens to the major? So don't try to just fit the mold that you think Wharton wants you to fit, or for this matter, any other school. So wish you the best of luck, stay safe, and hope to hear from you soon.